Welcome everybody, this is Miss Murphy. I'm here to demonstrate your next step for creating your Day in My Shoes shoe memory drawing. So my last video was part 1 where you were to take your drawing that you made of your shoe, your contour drawing, and transfer it onto your 12 by 18 paper, which is the large paper that you got in your art materials package. So I have now transferred my shoe. I made sure that I lined it up. I'm going to go back over some of the details, so you might want to just spend some time bringing out some of your drawing that you transferred. So that would really be your next step, is just going over some of the details that you transferred so that you can now see them onto your large 12 by 18 paper. And the reason why we are adding this onto our 12 by 18 paper is so that we can see, so that you can create your background, is what I meant to say. So you have enough space in this paper to now add your background. And your background is supposed to relate to a specific significant memory, a day in your shoes. So you want to make sure that you have a few things happening in your background that we talked about in class. So I'm going to continue this once I'm done adding my background just to demonstrate, but I already laid out where I was adding the ground in my drawing here. So my memory that I am doing is actually a very special birthday that I had where I went out to the mountains and had a campfire. So I'm going to use that as my memory because it was a really great day. It was a special time. And so I already have my shoe. Now I'm going to add my background. And remember that you want to create depth in your background with a foreground, middle ground, background, whether it be inside or outside. So I want to create a sense of depth. I'm actually going to add my first visual image here, which is I wanted to add a tree coming in on the side, and I'm going to add a little bit texture to that. And we're going to talk about texture in a moment. So I'm just going to kind of sketch this in. I'm not going to really add the texture on this yet because I'm just going to lay out where I want to place everything. Now let me set my shoe drawing aside there. So I want to visualize like where I'm going to place everything, okay? And I want to make sure that I show a sense of depth by having some things go further back. So I know I have this part of the ground here, but I also want to add a horizon line here. A horizon line also will help create this depth in my drawing. And the horizon line is where the land and the sky meet. So it is the line between the land and the sky. It creates that division. So now that I have my horizon line, I'm going to add another tree back here because I remember there being another. So this was like a campsite area in the mountains that I remember. I'm actually looking at a picture when I do this to help me visualize. So one thing that might help you is to look up pictures that you either have or pictures that resemble the place that you went, maybe if you research. So essentially you are drawing from observation. If you look at a photograph, you can use that to help you. I'm going to be drawing some leaves and adding them into my drawing, but I wanted to just start laying out where things go. And there are no roots showing here because there are leaves all over the ground that I'm going to be sketching in, as well as some shadows. But I'm really focused right now on just how I'm going to create this sense of depth. And I'm going to add a few more trees in the background. So really, what you need to have done by Thursday, so what you need to work on is getting everything sketched in. There does not need to be any value added to this yet. You're only really adding the outline of things, just kind of like when you did your contour drawing. You can do a little bit of shading here and there and start adding some little details, but you want to consider like where everything's going to be placed first and really have your drawing laid out. And the other part of my background here was that in the background you can see a little bit of the mountain. So it was out in the mountains, like the scene that I was in. And I'm going to continue that throughout my drawing. And they're not really totally visible in the background, but I know I'm going to be adding some more trees back here. So I have a lot more details to add for my memory. The other thing is that somebody else had asked me if they could add 2 shoes instead of 1, which yes, you can. So if you wanted to do that, you could also transfer a second shoe overlapping if you wanted to have them both in there. I'm sticking with 1 for mine, but you could also add it slightly behind your other shoe and having it right side by side. And then what you could also do is add maybe like your actual leg going into the shoe. So I will demonstrate that in class if anybody's interested in doing that. But other than that, we're just adding our shoe to our background for our memory drawing. But you can get creative with that if you want. And I am going to add some more trees back here. And so what I'm doing right now is creating a sense of depth by creating a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. I'm not getting totally detailed here. But remember that when you choose your background, you want to think about a variety of textures. One thing I mentioned in your sketches is that you also want to show at least 3 different textures. So I'm going to have the ground, I'm also going to have the trees, I'm also going to have the mountains and the leaves. So I actually have a few textures going on. And when you have things that are closer in the foreground, like here, so what I plan on doing is actually I'm going to be adding a leaf in the foreground here coming off the page, which actually is right underneath my shoe. So I'm going to add that in as another detail. I'm not adding all the details, I'm just sketching it in as I go. But I want to show a few leaves that are a little bit larger in the foreground, which is going to also create this depth that I have in my drawing. So I'm going to add that right here. And I'm going to start adding some of the lines. So basically we're just doing some of those contour lines. And I'm going to actually just kind of add more details to this as I go later on, but I just wanted to sketch this in here for myself just to get it started, and that way I know where that's going to go. And then I'm going to kind of see what else I need to add here, adding some more trees, but you can already see that I already have I have a sense of depth where things are getting further back, things are getting larger in the foreground, smaller in the background. Once I start adding details, which we're not doing yet, I will notice that things get lighter and less detailed in the background and darker and more detailed in the foreground. But all you need to do right now is draw out your background. Do not add any value. And also take time to go over all of your shoe details so that you can see everything that you transferred, just like I'm doing right now. All right, and good luck with your next steps. Thank you.